Peace be upon you, dear soul. If you found your way here tonight, perhaps you're carrying the weight of a long day. Perhaps your mind has been racing, your heart has been heavy, or sleep has felt like a distant shore you cannot quite reach. You are not alone in this. There are countless others, in this very moment, seeking what you seek: rest, peace, and a refuge from the storms that rage both outside and within. Tonight, we will journey together through one of the most beautiful gifts Allah has given to humanity. It is brief in its words, only 6 short verses, yet infinite in its mercy and protection. This is Surah An-Nas, the mankind, the final chapter of the noble Quran, placed there by divine wisdom as a seal, a completion, and a shelter for all who recite it. You don't need to do anything right now except breathe. Let your shoulders relax. Let the tension in your jaw release. You are in a safe space, a sacred space, where the words of your Creator will wash over you like gentle waves upon a shore. There is no rush here, no deadline, no expectation. You are simply a traveler who has stopped to rest under the shade of divine mercy. The surah we will explore tonight is not about fear, though it speaks of protection. It is not about weakness, though it acknowledges our vulnerability. It is, at its heart, a love letter from Allah to you. Yes, you specifically, reminding you that He sees you, knows you, and has provided you with the exact words you need to speak when the world feels overwhelming and your heart feels exposed. Many of us go through our days feeling unprotected, as if we're walking through life without armor, without shelter. We feel the whispers, those subtle voices that tell us we're not enough, that we should be afraid, that we're alone. But tonight, you will learn that you have always had protection. You have always had a refuge, and it begins with the simple, profound act of seeking shelter in the One who created you, sustains you, and will never abandon you. As we move through this time together, you will hear the verses repeated again and again, because repetition is not just for memorization, it is for the heart. It is so these words can seep into the deepest parts of you, settling into the places where worry lives, where fear hides, where exhaustion has made its home. With each repetition, imagine those words as light, gently illuminating the darkness, making space for peace to enter. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, used to recite this surah every single night before he slept. Can you imagine that? The most beloved of all creation, the one chosen to deliver Allah's final message to humanity, the one whose heart was so pure and whose connection to Allah was so strong. Even he recited these words for protection before closing his eyes each night. If he needed these words, how much more do we? His wife Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, described how he would cup his hands together, recite Surah Al-Ikhlas, Surah Al-Falaq, and Surah An-Nas, blow into his hands, and then wipe them over his body, starting with his head and face. He would do this 3 times. This wasn't a ritual born from fear. It was an act of trust, of recognition, of placing himself completely in Allah's care before entering the vulnerable state of sleep. Tonight, we honor that practice. We honor the gentle rhythm of seeking refuge, of admitting that we need Allah, and of resting in the certainty that He hears us. So take a deep breath in, and as you release it, release also any expectation you brought with you tonight. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to understand everything immediately. You just need to be here, present, open, and willing to receive what Allah wishes to give you through these blessed verses. Let us begin together in the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate, walking slowly, gently, toward the rest that your soul is craving. Surah An-Nas holds a unique and sacred position in the Quran. It is the 114th chapter, the very last surah in the Mus'haf, the final words in the order that we have received this divine book. But being last does not mean it is least. In fact, there is profound wisdom in why Allah chose to seal His final revelation to humanity with these particular words, this particular prayer, this particular refuge. The name An-Nas means the mankind or the people, and this title alone tells us something essential. This surah is for everyone. It is not just for the scholars, not just for the pious, not just for those who have memorized the entire Quran. It is for every human being who has ever felt vulnerable, every soul who has experienced doubt, every heart that has been touched by anxiety or fear. It is universal in its reach and intimate in its mercy. Composed of only 6 verses, Surah An-Nas is what we call one of the Qisar al-Mufassal, the short, detailed surahs at the end of the Quran. Yet within these 6 verses lies a complete system of protection, a full understanding of our relationship with Allah, and a comprehensive defense against every form of harm that can touch the human heart. It is remarkable how Allah can condense so much meaning, so much power, so much tranquility into so few words. This is the miracle of the Quran. Every letter carries weight. Every word opens universes of understanding. This surah, together with Surah Al-Falaq, which precedes it, forms what are known as Al-Mu'awwidhatayn, the 2 refuges, or the 2 protections. They are companion surahs, twin shields that the Prophet, peace be upon him, would never separate. Where one offers protection from external harms and the darkness of the physical world, the other, our beloved Surah An-Nas, offers protection from the internal whispers, the psychological and spiritual threats that can be even more dangerous than any physical enemy. The scholars of tafsir, those who have dedicated their lives to understanding the Quran, have noted that these final surahs were among the most frequently recited by the Prophet in his daily life. This tells us something crucial. Protection is not a one-time event. It is not something we do once and then forget. It is a continuous practice, a daily returning, a constant renewal of our relationship with Allah as our protector. Every night, every morning, before every vulnerable moment, we have the opportunity to seek refuge in Him again. Many people today struggle with what we might call modern anxieties, stress from work, worry about the future, fear of failure, concern about what others think of us, the constant noise of information and demands on our attention. We live in an age where the mind rarely rests, where peace feels scarce, and where sleep itself has become difficult for millions of people. But these struggles are not new. The fundamental human experience of vulnerability, of feeling exposed to harm both seen and unseen, has been with us since the beginning. And Allah, in His perfect knowledge and limitless mercy, gave us these words as a medicine for the soul, a balm for the worried mind, a key to the door of peace. When you recite Surah An-Nas, you are not just reading words from an ancient text. You are speaking the same prayer that the Prophet Muhammad spoke. You are seeking the same refuge that every believer before you has sought. You are connecting yourself to a chain of mercy that stretches back 1400 years and extends forward until the end of time. You are joining a global community of hearts, all turning to the same source, all seeking the same shelter. The structure of this surah is itself a teaching. It begins by commanding us to say, Kul. This is Allah telling us exactly what to say, putting the words directly into our mouths. We don't have to figure out the perfect prayer on our own. We don't have to worry if we're expressing ourselves correctly. Allah has done that work for us. He has given us the precise words that will reach Him, that will activate His protection, that will bring us into His shelter. All we have to do is speak them with sincerity, with presence, with a heart that genuinely seeks refuge. Then, the surah names Allah with three of His most powerful attributes, three descriptions that encompass His complete authority over humanity. He is Rab An-Nas, the Lord of mankind, Malik An-Nas, the King of mankind, and Ilah An-Nas, the God of mankind. We will explore these names in depth later, but for now, simply notice the repetition of An-Nas, mankind, mankind, mankind. Allah is emphasizing that His lordship, His kingship, and His divinity extend over every single human being. No one is outside His care. No one is too far gone. No one is unworthy of seeking refuge in Him. You, right now, reading or listening to these words, are included in that An-Nas. He is your Lord, your King, your God. The surah then describes what we are seeking protection from, the whispers of evil, particularly the whisperer who retreats when we remember Allah, but returns when we become heedless. This whisperer operates in the chests of people, not outside them, but within, in the very seat of our thoughts and emotions. And crucially, the surah tells us that these whispers come from both jinn and human beings. This is a profound psychological insight. Not all the negative voices we hear come from supernatural sources. Sometimes the most damaging whispers come from other people, from their words, their criticism, their projections onto us. And sometimes the whispers come from our own minds, our own internalized fears and doubts. But regardless of the source, regardless of whether the whisper is from a hidden jinn or a visible human or our own anxious thoughts, the solution is the same. Seek refuge in Allah. Return to Him. Remember Him. Anchor yourself in His names, His attributes, His protection. When you do this, the whisperer must retreat. It is a law of spiritual reality, as certain as gravity. Throughout Islamic history, this surah has been associated with healing, with breaking the effects of magic, with dispelling fear, and with bringing peace to troubled hearts. The Prophet himself was once afflicted with magic, and it was during that trial that these verses were revealed, providing him with the exact remedy he needed. But you don't need to be under a magic spell to benefit from this surah. The truth is, we are all under attack in subtler ways. The magic of advertising that tells us we're incomplete without buying something. The spell of social comparison that makes us feel inadequate. The enchantment of constant distraction that keeps us from inner peace. Surah An-Nas breaks all of these spells. It returns us to reality, to truth, to the only source of real security. As we prepare to dive deeper into each element of this surah, know that you are embarking on a journey of understanding that will change how you see yourself, your struggles, and your relationship with Allah. You are not just learning about a surah. You are learning about yourself, about the nature of your challenges, and about the infinite mercy that is always available to you. You are learning how to come home to peace, no matter what storms rage around you or within you. So let your heart soften. Let your defenses lower. Let yourself be vulnerable here, in this sacred space of learning and healing. Allah is gentle with those who come to Him seeking refuge. He does not turn away the weary traveler. He does not reject the broken heart. He opens His shelter to you and says, through these verses, "Come, rest. You are safe here." And that is exactly what we will do together for the next 2 hours as we explore every dimension of this beautiful, merciful, powerful surah, the final gift of the Quran, the seal of divine revelation, your personal shelter in a chaotic world. To truly understand Surah An-Nas and feel its power in your heart, we must journey back 14 centuries to the city of Medina, to a time when the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, faced one of his most challenging trials. This is not a story of battlefield courage or political strategy, but something more intimate, more vulnerable, more human. This is a story of how even the Prophet needed Allah's help in the most unexpected way. The scholars of tafsir, including the great Imam Ibn Kathir, whose commentary is considered among the most authentic and comprehensive, inform us that Surah An-Nas, along with its companion Surah Al-Falaq, was revealed in Medina. The historical context they provide is crucial for understanding why these words carry such healing power. They tell us that a Jewish man named Labid ibn al-Asam, who lived in Medina during the time of the Prophet, managed to work magic against Allah's messenger. This was not mere folklore or superstition. This event is documented in authentic hadith collections, particularly in Sahih Bukhari, which holds the highest level of authenticity in Islamic scholarship. According to the narration from Zayd ibn Arqam, may Allah be pleased with him, preserved by Ahmad ibn Yunus and transmitted through trusted chains, Labid ibn al-Asam obtained some of the Prophet's hair and teeth from his comb, personal items that could be used in magical practices. He tied these items into knots and placed them in a well. The effect of this magic was that the Prophet began to feel ill. He would imagine that he had done things he had not actually done, or feel confused about certain matters. For someone whose mind was normally so clear, whose connection to revelation was so direct, this must have been a deeply troubling experience. But here is what we must understand. This trial did not diminish the Prophet's status or prophethood. His revelation remained protected. Not a single verse of the Quran was affected. His judgment in religious matters remained sound. What was affected was his personal perception in worldly matters, in a way that made him realize his complete dependence on Allah. Even the greatest of Allah's creation needed to seek refuge. Even the most protected of all human beings needed to use the tools of protection that Allah provides. It was during this period of illness that the angel Jibril, peace be upon him, came to the Prophet with a profound gift. He taught him Surah Al-Falaq and Surah An-Nas, what we now call Al-Mu'awwidhatain, the two surahs of seeking refuge. Jibril said to the Prophet, "Say, I seek refuge with the Lord of Al-Falaq," and the Prophet repeated it. Then Jibril said, "Say, I seek refuge with the Lord of mankind," and the Prophet repeated it. These were not just words of comfort, they were active remedies, spiritual medicine prescribed by the divine physician for a specific illness. The Prophet was then guided to the well where the magical items had been hidden. He sent Ali ibn Abi Talib, may Allah be pleased with him, to retrieve them. As each knot was untied, the Prophet recited verses from these two surahs. With each recitation, with each loosened knot, the effects of the magic dissolved. The narrations tell us that when the last knot was untied and the last verse recited, the Prophet stood up as if he had been released from chains. He was completely healed, completely restored, as if he had never been ill at all. But the most remarkable aspect of this story is what the Prophet did next, or rather, what he didn't do. He never confronted Labid ibn al-Asam. He never publicly exposed him. He never sought revenge or even acknowledgement of what had been done to him. The Prophet, in his infinite mercy and wisdom, simply let it go. He had received what he needed from Allah, protection and healing, and that was enough. This teaches us something profound about the nature of seeking refuge in Allah. It is not about defeating our enemies or proving we were right. It is about finding peace in Allah's protection and moving forward with grace. The companion Uqba ibn Amir, may Allah be pleased with him, later reported that the Prophet said, "Do you not see that there have been verses revealed to me tonight, the like of which has never been seen before?" He then mentioned Surah Al-Falaq and Surah An-Nas. This hadith, recorded by Imam Muslim in his Sahih collection, emphasizes the unique and unprecedented nature of these surahs. The Prophet recognized them as a special gift, a new form of protection that had never existed in exactly this way before. Now, it's important to note that there is some scholarly discussion about whether these surahs were revealed initially in Makkah or Medina. Some scholars point to the style and brevity of the surahs as indicators of Makkan revelation, as the early surahs revealed in Makkah tend to be shorter and more direct. However, a strong and well-supported opinion, supported by the explicit hadith from Uqba ibn Amir, who became Muslim in Medina and heard these surahs called new by the Prophet, is that they were revealed in Medina specifically in response to the magic incident. What this historical context reveals to us is that protection through these verses is not theoretical. It is not symbolic. It is real, tangible, and effective. If these verses could break magic that had physically affected the Prophet, think about what they can do for the anxieties, the fears, the mental attacks that affect us today. If they could protect the most important human being in history, they can certainly protect us. The magic incident also teaches us about the nature of our vulnerability as human beings. We are not invincible. We cannot protect ourselves through our own strength alone. No amount of intelligence, status, or piety makes us immune to harm. Even the Prophet, with all his connection to Allah, with revelation coming directly to him, needed these specific words of refuge. How much more, then, do we need them? Moreover, the story reminds us that Allah's help comes in the exact form we need, at the exact time we need it. The Prophet could have been healed in any number of ways, an instantaneous miracle, a direct divine intervention without any action required. But instead, Allah gave him a gift that would benefit not just him, but every Muslim until the Day of Judgment. He gave him words to recite, actions to perform, a method that we can all follow. The healing came through engagement with revelation, through seeking refuge, through active participation in receiving Allah's mercy. In the centuries since this revelation, Muslims around the world have turned to these verses in their moments of need. Parents recite them over their children before sleep. The sick recite them seeking healing. Those facing difficult decisions recite them for clarity. Students recite them before exams. Travelers recite them for safety. The anxious recite them for peace. And countless people have experienced the protective power of these words, just as the Prophet did in that well in Medina 1400 years ago. When we recite Surah An-Nas tonight, we are connecting ourselves to this history. We are placing ourselves in that lineage of protection. We are accessing the same divine shelter that was opened for the Prophet. The well may be long gone, the physical knots untied centuries ago, but the spiritual reality these verses address remains. The whispers still come, the vulnerabilities still exist, and the refuge still stands, eternal and accessible, waiting for us to simply say the words, "I seek refuge in the Lord of mankind." This context transforms these verses from ancient text into living medicine. They are not just historically significant, they are presently powerful. They worked then, and they work now. They healed the Prophet, and they can heal you. They broke magic then, and they can break the subtle spells of this modern age, the enchantment of consumerism, the hex of social media comparison, the curse of constant anxiety. They are as relevant to your struggles today as they were to the Prophet's struggle in 7th century Medina. So as we continue our journey through this surah, carry this story with you. Remember that these are not just beautiful words. They are battle-tested, trial-proven, divinely prescribed medicine for the human condition. They come from the source of all healing, taught by the angel of revelation, practiced by the best of creation, and preserved for you, in this moment, for whatever you need protection from tonight. At the heart of Surah An-Nas lie 3 magnificent names, 3 descriptions of Allah that form the foundation of our seeking refuge. They are not chosen randomly. Each one opens a different door to understanding who we are seeking protection from and why we can be absolutely certain that He will provide it. These three names, Rab, Malik, and Ilah, progress in their meaning, each one building upon the last, creating a complete picture of Allah's relationship with humanity and our total dependence on Him. Let us begin with Rab An-Nas, the Lord of mankind, or more precisely, the nurturer, sustainer, and caretaker of all human beings. The Arabic word Rab is rich in meaning, far more than the English word Lord can convey. It comes from a root that indicates nurturing something from an incomplete state to a complete one, from weakness to strength, from need to fulfillment. When you plant a seed and tend to it, watering it, providing it with sunlight, protecting it from pests, watching it grow into a full plant, this process is called tarbiyah in Arabic, which comes from the same root as Rab. This means that when we call upon Rab An-Nas, we are not just acknowledging a distant ruler. We are calling upon the one who has been taking care of us since before we were born, who fashioned us in our mother's womb, who taught us to breathe, to eat, to speak. We are calling upon the one who provides for us every single day, the food we eat, the water we drink, the air we breathe, the countless blessings we often take for granted. We are acknowledging that every stage of our development, from conception to this present moment, has been under His care. Think about your own life for a moment. Think about how many times you could have been harmed but weren't, how many accidents you narrowly avoided, how many illnesses your body fought off without you even knowing, how many negative outcomes were diverted without your awareness. This is your Rab, constantly nurturing you, protecting you, guiding you toward what is best for you, even when you don't recognize it. When a child learns to walk, he falls dozens of times, but his mother doesn't abandon him. She picks him up, encourages him, tends to his scrapes, and lets him try again. This is just a fraction of how Allah, your Rab, deals with you in your spiritual journey. The scholars point out that calling Allah Rab An-Nas in this surah specifically reminds us that He is nurturing and caring for all of humanity, not just believers. He provides for the grateful and the ungrateful, the believer and the disbeliever. The sun rises on everyone. The rain falls on all lands. This universal nurturing is a sign of His immense mercy. And if He cares even for those who reject Him, how much more does He care for you, who are turning to Him right now, seeking His refuge? When you seek protection from Rab An-Nas, you are seeking it from the one who knows you better than you know yourself, who has been taking care of you your entire life, who has a vested interest in your well-being because He is your creator and sustainer. The second name is Malik An-Nas, the king of mankind, the sovereign, the owner of all human beings. Here the attribute shifts from nurturing to authority. While a nurturer might be kind and caring, a king has power, control, and the ability to command and protect. The word Malik comes from the root meaning possession and kingship. Allah is not just a king by title. He is the actual owner of everything, including us. We don't just live in His kingdom. We are His property, His subjects, under His complete sovereignty. Think about what a good king does for his subjects. He establishes law and order. He protects them from external enemies. He ensures justice. He has armies, resources, and systems in place to maintain the security of his realm. Now imagine a king with absolutely no limitations, no budget constraints, no political opposition, no weakness in his military, no end to his reign. That is Allah, Malik An-Nas. His kingdom extends over every human being who has ever existed or will exist. His authority is absolute. His power is unlimited. Nothing happens in His kingdom without His knowledge and permission. When you seek refuge in Malik An-Nas, you are presenting yourself before the King of all kings, acknowledging that you are His subject and that as His subject, you have a right to His protection. In traditional monarchies, if someone sought asylum in the king's court, the king was honor-bound to protect them. It was a matter of royal dignity that those who sought His shelter received it. Allah's dignity is infinite, His honor beyond measure. When you come to Him seeking refuge, calling upon Him as your king, He will not turn you away. To do so would be against His own majesty and generosity. Moreover, the mention of Malik after Rab teaches us a progression. We are not just cared for by Allah, we are ruled by Him. We owe Him not just gratitude, but obedience. His protection comes with recognition of His authority. You cannot seek a king's protection while rebelling against His laws, but when you come humbly, acknowledging His sovereignty, His protection becomes your right as His subject. The third and most comprehensive name is Ilah An-Nas, the God of mankind, the only deity worthy of worship by all human beings. If Rab is about nurturing and Malik is about authority, then Ilah is about worship, devotion, and ultimate allegiance. The word Ilah is the one from which Allah is derived. It means the one who deserves all worship, the one to whom all hearts should turn, the one for whom we should reserve our ultimate love, fear, and hope. Every human being worships something, even if they don't call it worship. Some worship money, some worship status, some worship pleasure, some worship their own desires. But all of these are false gods, temporary idols that will eventually fail us. Allah alone is Ilah An-Nas, the true God who deserves worship because He alone has the attributes of divinity, eternality, power, knowledge, mercy, and independence. He needs nothing, while everything needs Him. He created everything, while nothing created Him. He sustains all, while nothing sustains Him. When you call upon Ilah An-Nas in seeking refuge, you are acknowledging that your ultimate allegiance is to Him. You are saying, I worship You alone, and because I worship You alone, I turn to You alone for protection. I will not seek ultimate refuge in money, or people, or my own abilities. I seek refuge in You, my God, my true deity, my rightful object of worship. Notice the beautiful progression. Rab establishes His care for us, Malik establishes His authority over us, and Ilah establishes our devotion to Him. Together, these three names create an unbreakable bond. He cares for us, so we can trust Him. He rules over us, so we can rely on His power. We worship Him, so we can be certain He will respond to our call. The scholars of tafsir also point out something profound. These three names cover three essential relationships between Allah and humanity. Lordship relates to creation and sustenance. He brought us into existence and maintains our existence. Kingship relates to authority and governance. He controls all affairs and nothing happens except by His will. Divinity relates to purpose and worship. He is the reason we exist, and recognizing Him is our ultimate fulfillment. Together, they form what we might call a complete theology in just 3 words. You don't need complex philosophical systems to understand your relationship with Allah. You are His creation being nurtured toward perfection. Rab. You are His subject living under His wise governance. Malik. You are His worshipper existing to know and glorify Him. Ilah. These 3 dimensions encompass everything you need to know about where you stand before Allah. Some classical scholars, including those in the tradition of Ma'ariful Quran, have suggested that these 3 names can also represent 3 stages of human life. An-Nas relates to childhood, when we are most in need of nurturing and care. An-Nas relates to youth and adulthood, when we become aware of authority, law, and societal structure. An-Nas relates to old age and wisdom, when we turn our hearts fully to Allah, recognizing that He alone is worthy of our devotion, as worldly attachments fall away. Whether you are a child needing care, a young person navigating authority, or an older person seeking deeper meaning, all three dimensions apply to you always. You always need His nurturing. You always live under His authority. You always owe Him worship. The names are not just stages, but constant realities of your existence. When you recite these three names in sequence, I seek refuge with the Lord of mankind, the King of mankind, the God of mankind. You are building your case for why Allah should protect you. It's as if you're saying, "You are my nurturer, so naturally you want what's best for me. You are my King, so you have the power to protect me. You are my God, so I have no one else to turn to but you." This is not manipulation. It is recognition of reality. You are simply stating the truth of your relationship with Him and the natural implications of that relationship. There is also a subtle rhetorical beauty here. By repeating An-Nas, mankind, 3 times, Allah is emphasizing our shared humanity, our collective vulnerability, our common need for His protection. Whether we are rich or poor, powerful or weak, educated or illiterate, we are all Nas, mankind, people, human beings who need the same Lord, the same King, the same God. This levels all hierarchies and reminds us that in seeking refuge, we all stand on equal ground before Allah. So tonight, as you recite these names, let each one sink into your heart. Feel the nurturing of your Rabb. Submit to the authority of your Malik. Devote yourself purely to your Ilah. Let these 3 names reconstruct how you see yourself and your place in the universe. You are not alone, not abandoned, not without protection. You have the Lord of all mankind caring for you, the King of all mankind ruling in your favor, and the God of all mankind listening to your call. After establishing the 3 magnificent names of Allah, Rabb, Malik, and Ilah, the surah shifts to describing what we are seeking protection from. And here, the Arabic language reveals its incredible precision and beauty, using 2 words that paint a complete picture of evil's method of operation: al-waswas, al-khannas. These are not just labels, they are diagnoses, helping us understand exactly how our spiritual enemy works so that we can recognize its tactics and defend ourselves effectively. Let us begin with waswas, often translated as the whisperer, but carrying so much more meaning than that simple translation can convey. The word comes from the Arabic root WSWS, and even the sound of it in Arabic is onomatopoetic. It sounds like whispering itself, a soft, repetitive, subtle sound. Try saying it slowly: waswasa, waswasa, waswasa. You can almost hear the hissing, the secretive voice, the barely audible suggestion being slipped into someone's ear. The root itself means to whisper or to suggest something quietly and repeatedly. The form waswas is what Arabic grammarians call an intensive or exaggerative form. It doesn't just mean one who whispers once, but one who whispers again and again and again. It indicates persistence, repetition, an unrelenting pattern of subtle suggestion. This is crucial to understand because it describes exactly how negative thoughts work in our minds. They are not usually loud, obvious declarations. They are quiet, persistent whispers that repeat themselves until they feel like our own thoughts. The nature of whispering itself is significant. When someone whispers to you, they are speaking in a way that others cannot hear, creating a sense of secrecy, of privacy, of conspiracy. The whisperer makes you feel like you're receiving special information, something hidden from others. This is how evil suggestions work. They feel personal, private, like insights that only you are aware of. No one understands how hard your life is. You have a right to be angry. Just this once won't hurt. Everyone else is doing it. You're not good enough. They're judging you. These whispers come in your own internal voice, making them feel like your own conclusions rather than external attacks. The scholars of Quranic exegesis point out that the word waswasa contains within its structure the idea of repetition. Just as the word itself repeats sounds, WWSS, WWS, the action it describes is repetitive. One evil thought is not usually enough to lead someone astray, but that same thought, whispered 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, gradually wears down resistance. This is why certain anxieties or temptations can feel so overwhelming, not because they are powerful in themselves, but because they are relentlessly repeated. Think about how a drop of water seems powerless against a rock, but thousands of drops over time can carve through stone. This is the method of al-waswas, not overwhelming force, but persistent erosion. The whisper comes, you resist, it retreats, it comes back, you resist a bit less, it retreats, it comes back, and gradually your defenses weaken. This is why consistency in remembrance of Allah is so important. The whisperer works through repetition, so our defense must also be repetition. Repeated dhikr, repeated Quran, repeated seeking of refuge. The second word, khanas, adds another layer of understanding to how our enemy operates. Khanas comes from the root khans, which means to withdraw, to retreat, to hide, or to sneak away. The form khanas is again an intensive form, indicating someone who constantly withdraws, who repeatedly hides, who habitually sneaks away. This describes the cowardly, lurking nature of evil. It does not confront you openly. It does not face you in honest battle. It attacks when you're weak and flees when you're strong. The classical tafsir of Ibn Kathir and others explain that shaitan, Satan, sits on the heart of a human being, perched there like a crow, constantly whispering evil suggestions. But the moment the person remembers Allah, truly remembers Him, invokes His name, turns to Him, the shaitan retreats and withdraws. He cannot stand the remembrance of Allah. He cannot remain in an environment filled with dhikr. He slinks away, humiliated and weakened. But, and this is crucial, he doesn't leave permanently. He withdraws, khanas, only to return again when the person becomes heedless, when their attention drifts from Allah, when their guard is down. This cycle is why the intensive form khanas is used. He is constantly withdrawing and returning, withdrawing and returning. It's like a predator waiting for the right moment to strike, hiding in the shadows, waiting for the guard to fall asleep. This gives us a powerful insight into spiritual warfare. The battle is not about achieving one dramatic victory over Shaitan and then being done with him forever. The battle is about consistency. It's about maintaining your remembrance of Allah so that Shaitan remains in retreat. When you let your guard down, when you stop remembering Allah, when you become immersed in heedlessness, that's when he creeps back in and begins whispering again. There's something psychologically profound here too. Modern psychology recognizes that negative thought patterns work in exactly this way. They are intrusive, repetitive, and they tend to retreat when we actively address them, but return when we stop paying attention. Cognitive behavioral therapy teaches people to recognize these patterns and interrupt them. Surah An-Nas taught this principle 1400 years ago. The negative whispers, waswas, are persistent, but they retreat. Khanas, when confronted with truth and remembrance of Allah. The scholars also point out that the combined phrase al-waswas al-khannas gives us the complete picture of Shaitan's limitation. He is powerful in his persistence, waswas, but weak in his courage, khanas. He can whisper, but he cannot force. He can suggest, but he cannot compel. He can tempt, but he cannot remove your free will. And most importantly, he must flee when faced with the remembrance of Allah. This knowledge itself is empowering. Your enemy is not all-powerful. He is, in fact, quite weak. His only weapon is persistent whispering, and even that weapon becomes useless when you turn to Allah. There is a beautiful description in the scholarly tradition where it is explained that Allah has built two houses in the human heart. In one resides an angel, and in the other resides Shaitan. The angel urges the person toward good, and Shaitan whispers them toward evil. When the person remembers Allah, Shaitan withdraws. When the person stops remembering Allah, Shaitan perches on the heart and pecks at it with his beak, whispering evil. This metaphor of pecking is particularly vivid. Just as a bird pecks persistently at something, trying to break through, trying to get at what's inside, Shaitan pecks at the heart with his whispers, trying to break through our defenses, trying to reach our weaknesses, trying to crack our resolve. But the angel is also there, also whispering, also urging us toward good. The question is, which voice will we listen to? Which whisper will we give our attention to? The fact that Shaitan is described as both waswas and khanas gives us our strategy for defense. Since he works through repetition, we must counter him with repetition, repeating dhikr, repeating this surah, repeating our seeking of refuge. Since he retreats when we remember Allah, we must make remembrance of Allah our constant companion. The more we remember Allah, the more time Shaitan spends in retreat, unable to influence us, frustrated and defeated. This is why the Prophet, peace be upon him, was so consistent in his recitation of these surahs. It wasn't that he recited them once and gained permanent immunity. No, he recited them every single night, maintaining his shield of protection, keeping Shaitan in a perpetual state of retreat. This is the model we must follow. The linguistic beauty of Arabic allows these two words, waswas and khanas, to carry entire volumes of meaning. They diagnose the problem with precision. The enemy is persistent but cowardly, repetitive but weak, intrusive but defeatable. They tell us his method and his limitation in just two words. This is the miracle of Quranic language, economy of expression with vastness of meaning. When you recite Min Sharri al-Waswas al-Khannas tonight, from the evil of the whisperer who withdraws, understand that you are not just saying words. You are activating a divine formula for protection. You are naming your enemy, exposing his tactics, and applying the countermeasure. You are saying, I know how you work, I know you're there, and I'm taking refuge from you in the one who made you flee. This knowledge transforms the surah from a passive prayer into an active defense system. You're not just asking for generic protection, you're specifically addressing the precise method by which evil attacks the human heart. You're using divine knowledge to outmaneuver your spiritual enemy. You're applying the prescription that the divine physician gave for this exact illness. And here is the beautiful mercy in this. Allah didn't leave us ignorant of how our enemy operates. He described it for us in detail. He told us, this is how Shaitan works. This is his pattern. These are his tactics. And here is how you defend yourself. The diagnosis and the cure are in the same verses. The problem and the solution are presented together. You are never left helpless, never without a defense, never without a way to make the whisperer retreat. So, as we move into the recitation sections, carry this understanding with you. Every time you recite these verses, you are actively pushing Shaitan back, forcing him into retreat, creating sacred space in your heart where he cannot enter. With each recitation, you are strengthening your defenses, purifying your inner environment, establishing the remembrance of Allah as the dominant force in your consciousness. The whispers will come. That is inevitable as long as you are alive. But they do not have to control you. They do not have to overwhelm you, because you have been given the knowledge of their nature and the tool to defeat them. You have been given the words, "I seek refuge in the Lord of mankind, the King of mankind, the God of mankind, from the evil of the whisperer who withdraws." And those words are enough. They have always been enough. They will always be enough. The surah now becomes even more specific, completing its description of what we are seeking protection from. It tells us that this whisperer whispers in the chests of mankind, and then it clarifies the source, from among the jinn and mankind. These final specifications are crucial because they expand our understanding of where spiritual harm can originate and how comprehensive our need for protection truly is. Alladhi yuwaswisu fi suduri An-Nas, who whispers in the chests of mankind. The location is significant: the chest, the breast, the heart center. In Arabic tradition and throughout the Quran, the chest, sadr, is considered the seat of thoughts, emotions, and intentions. It is the inner sanctuary of the human being, where feelings arise, where decisions are made, where faith resides. The Arabic word sadr refers not to the physical heart muscle, but to the spiritual and psychological center of a person. This tells us something profound. The battle is internal. The real struggle is not with external circumstances, but with what happens inside our own hearts and minds. The whispers do not attack our bodies or our possessions directly. They attack our inner state, our thoughts, our perceptions, our feelings. They try to corrupt us from the inside out. They try to make us see things in a distorted way, to feel emotions that don't serve us, to make decisions that harm us, all by whispering suggestions into our sudur, our chest, our inner being. This is why anxiety, depression, and mental struggles can be so devastating. They are not visible wounds that others can see and treat. They are internal battles that happen in the privacy of our own consciousness. The whispers tell us we are worthless, that there is no hope, that we should give up, that we are alone. And because these thoughts arise in our own minds, we often mistake them for our own conclusions, rather than recognizing them as the whispers of an enemy. The Quran, specifying that the whispers occur in the chests, also points to the intimate and hidden nature of this attack. No one else can see or hear what you're experiencing internally. You can be surrounded by people and still feel desperately alone because the battle is happening in your chest, in your inner world, where no one else has access. This is why seeking refuge in Allah is so crucial. He alone has complete access to your inner state. He alone knows exactly what whispers are occurring in your chest. He alone can provide protection from an enemy that operates in a realm others cannot see. Then comes the crucial clarification about the source of these whispers. Min al-jinnati wan-nas, from among the jinn and mankind. This specification has been the subject of much scholarly discussion because it expands the scope of what we need protection from. It tells us that the whisperer who operates in our chests comes from two sources: supernatural beings, jinn, and human beings. The jinn are a creation of Allah, made from smokeless fire, existing in a realm that overlaps with ours, but is mostly hidden from our perception. Among them are believers and disbelievers, good ones and evil ones. The evil ones, led by Iblis, Satan, have made it their mission to mislead humanity, to whisper evil suggestions, to tempt people away from the straight path. They are the invisible enemies, the ones we cannot see but who can see us, who can influence our thoughts through their whispers. But the surah doesn't stop with jinn. It also mentions Nas, mankind, human beings. This is a profound insight into human psychology and social dynamics. Not all the harmful whispers in your chest come from invisible, supernatural beings. Many of them come from very visible, very human sources. They come from that person who plants seeds of doubt in your mind. They come from the friend who encourages you toward bad decisions. They come from the family member who constantly criticizes you. They come from the colleague who gossips and spreads negativity. They come from the influencer who makes you feel inadequate. They come from the advertiser who tells you you're incomplete without their product. Human beings can be devils to each other. The Quran explicitly states this in Surah An-Nas 6:112. And thus we have made for every prophet an enemy, devils from mankind and jinn, inspiring to one another decorative speech in delusion. Notice that devils are explicitly said to be from both mankind and jinn. A human being who persistently whispers evil to others, who tries to lead them astray, who plants negative thoughts in their minds, is functioning as a devil, even if they are human. This is a crucial recognition because sometimes we focus so much on protection from supernatural evil that we neglect to protect ourselves from human sources of harm. We might recite surahs for protection from jinn, but then spend hours engaging with toxic people or consuming harmful media. The surah teaches us that protection must be comprehensive. We need refuge from jinn, whispers, and human whispers. The scholars note that human devils can sometimes be even more dangerous than jinn devils because human influence is visible, tangible, and socially acceptable. When a toxic person enters your life, they don't announce themselves as such. They might be charming, persuasive, seemingly friendly. They whisper their poison slowly, gradually, in ways that feel like normal conversation or innocent advice. Before you know it, their whispers have taken root in your chest, affecting how you see yourself, others, and the world. This is particularly relevant in our modern age. Through technology, we have unprecedented access to human whispers from around the world. Social media algorithms literally whisper suggestions to us constantly: what to buy, who to envy, what to be outraged about, who to compare ourselves to. News media whispers fear and anxiety into our chests 24 hours a day. Entertainment media whispers values and perspectives that may not align with our faith. These are all examples of Nas, human beings, whispering into the chests of mankind. Understanding this helps us take practical steps for protection beyond just recitation. Yes, recite Surah An-Nas for spiritual protection, but also be mindful of which human beings you allow to whisper into your life. Limit exposure to toxic people. Curate what media you consume. Choose friends who remind you of Allah rather than lead you away from Him. Protect the gates through which whispers can enter: your eyes, your ears, your social circle, your environment. The specification that whispers occur in the chests of mankind also reveals something about the universal nature of this struggle. It doesn't matter what culture you're from, what language you speak, what era you live in. Every human being experiences these internal whispers. The billionaire and the beggar both have whispers in their chests. The scholar and the student both face this battle. The old and the young are both susceptible. This is the shared human condition, and Surah An-Nas is the shared human solution. There's also profound wisdom in how the surah ends with this specification. After building up our understanding of Allah's lordship, kingship, and divinity, after describing the nature of the whisperer who retreats, The surah concludes by making it abundantly clear where the threat comes from: jinn and mankind. This prevents us from being naive. It prevents us from thinking, "Oh, I just need to worry about devils and demons." No, you also need to be wise about human influences in your life. At the same time, it prevents us from being paranoid. Notice that the surah doesn't say, "All jinn and all mankind are your enemies." It says the whispers come, "Min al-jinnati wan-nas," from among them, meaning some of them. There are good jinn who are believers, and there are good humans who remind you of Allah. The evil ones are a portion, not the entirety. This balanced perspective helps us be cautious without being cynical, protective without being paranoid. When you recite Min al-Jinnati wan-Nas tonight, take a moment to reflect on both sources. Think about the invisible enemies, the shayateen who want to lead you astray, who whisper doubts about your faith, who make sin look attractive and worship look burdensome. Seek refuge from them. But also think about the visible enemies, the people in your life who drain your energy, who make you feel bad about yourself, who encourage you toward things that harm you. Seek refuge from them too. This doesn't mean cutting off all human contact or becoming isolated. It means being wise, being selective, being protective of your spiritual health the same way you're protective of your physical health. You wouldn't knowingly drink poisoned water. Don't knowingly consume poisoned words, ideas, and influences. The surah gives you permission. Actually, it gives you a divine command to seek refuge from human sources of harm just as much as from jinn sources. And here's the beautiful thing. When you seek refuge in Allah from both types of whispers, He protects you from both. He can make the jinn flee, and He can also remove harmful people from your life, or remove their ability to harm you. He can close doors that would have led to toxic relationships. He can give you the strength to set boundaries. He can make you unattractive to people who would have used you. He can do all of this when you sincerely seek His refuge. Now, dear soul, we come to the heart of our journey together. Everything we have discussed until this point, the historical context, the divine names, the nature of the whisperer, the sources of harm, all of it was preparation for this sacred moment. The moment when you will hear these blessed verses recited, when the Arabic words that Allah revealed will fill the space around you and within you. Before we begin, I want you to adjust your body into a position of complete comfort. If you're lying down, let every part of you sink into the surface beneath you. If you're sitting, let your spine be supported, your hands rest gently, your jaw unclench. Close your eyes if that feels natural, or let them remain softly open, unfocused on anything in particular. The goal is not effort, but surrender, not concentration, but reception. You are simply opening yourself to receive what Allah wishes to give you through these words. In authentic hadith narrated by Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, and recorded in Sahih al-Bukhari, she describes the Prophet's practice before sleep. Whenever the Prophet went to bed every night, he used to cup his hands together and blow over them after reciting Surah Al-Ikhlas, Surah Al-Falaq, and Surah An-Nas, and then rub his hands over whatever parts of his body he was able to rub, starting with his head, face, and front of his body. He used to do that 3 times. This was not a ritual of anxiety or fear. This was a ritual of trust, of recognizing that sleep is a vulnerable state. The Quran calls sleep a minor death, and that we need Allah's protection during these hours when our consciousness retreats and our defenses lower. The Prophet understood that just as we lock our doors at night, we must also lock our hearts and souls with the remembrance of Allah. As we enter the first recitation, I want you to understand what you're about to hear. The recitation will be in Arabic, the original language of revelation. Even if you don't understand Arabic intellectually, your soul understands it. These are the words that came from beyond the created universe, that passed through Angel Jibreel, that were placed on the tongue of Prophet Muhammad, that have been preserved letter for 14 centuries, and that now reach you in this moment. The recitation you will hear is in the style of Sheikh Abdur Rahman as-Sudais, the Imam of Masjid al-Haram in Makkah. His voice carries the weight of standing before the Kaaba, of leading millions in prayer, of dedicating his life to the Quran. When you hear his recitation, you are hearing how the best reciters of this age deliver these sacred words, with reverence, with precision, with hearts that know every letter is from Allah. Let me guide you through what you will hear, verse by verse, so that your heart can be fully present. Verse 1. Kul a'udhu birab in-nas. Translation. Say, I seek refuge in the Lord of mankind. This is the opening command. Allah is telling you what to say. Notice how it begins with kul. Say. You are not inventing this prayer. You are speaking words that Allah Himself composed for you. And immediately you declare your need. I seek refuge. You are not claiming self-sufficiency. You are acknowledging vulnerability and turning to the one who has been nurturing you since before you were born. Rab in-Nas, the Lord of all humanity. Verse 2. Malik in-Nas. Translation. The King of mankind. Here you deepen your appeal. You are not just seeking refuge in a nurturer, but in a sovereign, a ruler with absolute authority. When you say Malik in-Nas, you are acknowledging that He has power over all creation, that nothing happens without His permission, that His kingdom encompasses everything visible and invisible. You are placing yourself under royal protection. Verse 3. Ila in-Nas. Translation. The God of mankind. Now you complete the foundation. You have called upon His lordship, His kingship, and now His divinity. You are saying, you alone are worthy of worship. You alone are my ultimate destination. You alone have the right to be called upon in times of need. This verse seals your commitment. You worship Him alone, so you seek refuge in Him alone. Verse 4. Min shar il-waswas il-khannas. Translation. From the evil of the whisperer who withdraws. Now you name your enemy. You are seeking protection from specific harm. The persistent whisperer who retreats when you remember Allah, but returns when you become heedless. You are acknowledging that there is an enemy, that he operates through subtle suggestions, but that he is weak and cowardly, forced to flee at the mention of Allah. Verse 5. Alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudur in-nas. Translation. Who whispers in the chests of mankind. You specify where the attack occurs, not in your body or possessions, but in your chest, in your heart, in the seat of your thoughts and emotions. This is where the battle is fought. This is where Shaitan tries to corrupt you from the inside out. And you are asking Allah to protect that most vulnerable, most intimate part of you. Verse 6. Min al-jinnati wan-nas. Translation. From among the jinn and mankind. Finally, you clarify the sources of these whispers. Some come from invisible jinn, and some come from very visible human beings. You are asking for comprehensive protection from both supernatural and natural sources of evil. You are not naive about the threats you face, but you are confident in the one you've turned to for refuge. Now, let these verses wash over you. Don't try to analyze them during the recitation. Don't try to translate in real time. Simply receive them. Let the Arabic sounds, the rhythm, the melody, the cadence, settle into your heart. These sounds carry barakah, blessing. They carry healing. They carry protection. Recitation begins. First cycle. Bismillah. Ir-Rahman Ir-Rahim. قل أعوذ برب الناس مالك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. Let that sink in. 6 verses. 21 words in Arabic, but infinite in their power. Feel how your chest already feels different, lighter, more protected. This is not imagination. This is the real effect of divine words entering your space. قل أعوذ برب الناس مالك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. Notice what happens in your body when you hear these words. Does your breathing slow? Does your jaw relax? Do your shoulders drop? These are signs that your nervous system recognizes safety. Your soul knows it is in the presence of words that were designed specifically to bring peace. The Prophet would recite this 3 times before sleep, as we mentioned. But tonight, we will recite it more than that, because repetition is not just about fulfilling a number. Repetition is about allowing the medicine to penetrate deeper, allowing the protection to become more complete, allowing your heart to absorb what it needs. قل أعوذ برب الناس مالك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. Each time you hear these verses, imagine that they are building a wall of light around you. The first recitation lays the foundation. The second recitation builds the walls. The third recitation places the roof. You are constructing, word by word, verse by verse, a shelter made not of brick and mortar, but of divine speech. And what can harm you inside such a shelter? What whisper can penetrate walls made of Allah's words? What shaitan would dare approach a heart that is wrapped in the remembrance of the Lord of mankind, the King of mankind, the God of mankind? The scholars tell us that angels descend when the Quran is recited. They surround the space. They listen. They seek forgiveness for those who are listening. Right now, in this moment, you are not alone. You are in the company of angels, drawn here by these sacred words, creating an atmosphere of mercy around you. This first recitation cycle has been about entry, entering the words, letting them enter you, establishing the foundation of protection. You have heard the surah 3 times in full, in beautiful recitation, and your heart has begun to open to what Allah wishes to give you through these verses. But we are not done. This is only the first cycle. We will go deeper. We will slow down. We will let the words seep into places that the first hearing could not reach. Rest now for a moment. Breathe. Feel the protection that is already beginning to form around you. And prepare for the second cycle, where we will dive even deeper into the mercy of these words. You have completed the first cycle, and already your heart knows something has shifted. The frantic energy of the day is beginning to settle. The whispers that were so loud just moments ago are starting to fade into the background. This is the work of these blessed verses, and we have only just begun. In this second cycle, we will slow down even more. If the first cycle was about establishing protection, this cycle is about deepening peace. We are not rushing towards sleep. We are walking slowly, intentionally, into the garden of tranquility that Allah has prepared for those who seek refuge in Him. There is a beautiful hadith where the Prophet, peace be upon him, said that when a person recites Ayat al-Kursi before sleep, Allah appoints an angel to guard them through the night, and shaitan cannot come near them until morning. The same principle applies to Surah An-Nas. When you recite it with sincerity before sleep, you are activating divine protection that will guard you through the vulnerable hours of the night. Think about how exposed we are when we sleep. Our consciousness retreats, our awareness dims, our defenses drop. We are, in a very real sense, not in control. This is why sleep has been called the little death in Islamic tradition. It is a state where we experience what it will be like to have our souls temporarily separated from our bodies. And just as we will need Allah's mercy when we die, we need His mercy when we sleep. But Allah, in His infinite wisdom and boundless mercy, has not left us unprotected. He has given us these words, simple enough for a child to memorize, yet powerful enough to create a fortress of safety around even the most anxious heart. As we enter the second recitation cycle, I want you to focus on your breathing. Don't force it. Don't control it. Just notice it. Notice the breath coming in, filling your lungs, and then notice it leaving, carrying with it the tensions of the day. With each exhale, imagine that you are releasing worry, releasing fear, releasing the need to be in control. With each inhale, imagine that you are breathing in Allah's mercy, His peace, His protection. The recitation will come slower this time. There will be longer pauses between verses. This is intentional. We are giving your heart more time to absorb each verse, to feel its weight, to let it settle into the deeper layers of your consciousness. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Qul a'udhu bi Rabbin Nas. Let this verse sit with you. Say, I seek refuge in the Lord of mankind. You are declaring your need. You are acknowledging that you cannot protect yourself. And that is not weakness, that is wisdom. That is the beginning of true strength, knowing where your strength comes from. Malik Innas, the King of mankind. Feel the authority in this name. The one you are calling upon is not a distant hope or an abstract concept. He is the King, the Sovereign, the one whose will is absolute. When He protects you, you are truly protected. Ilah Innas, the God of mankind. This is where your heart should feel most at home. You were created to worship Him. Your soul was designed to find rest in His remembrance. When you say Ilah Innas, you are coming home to your true purpose. Min shar il waswas il khanas, from the evil of the whisperer who withdraws. Name your enemy, acknowledge that he exists, but also acknowledge that he is weak, that he must flee when you remember Allah. He is already retreating as you hear these words. Alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudur innas, who whispers in the chests of mankind. This is where the battle is fought, in your chest, in your heart, in the private chambers of your thoughts. And this is where Allah's protection reaches. He knows every whisper, He sees every attack, and He defends you. Min al-jinnati wan-nas, from among the jinn and mankind. Comprehensive protection, complete safety. Nothing can harm you when you are under the shelter of these words. Breathe, rest in the silence. The silence after Quran is not empty, it is full. It is pregnant with mercy. It is charged with barakah. Let it hold you. Qul a'udhu bi Rabbin Nas. Each repetition is not redundant. Each repetition is another layer of protection, another degree of peace, another step closer to complete surrender. Malik Innas. You are safe. You are in the King's court. No harm can reach you here. Ilah Innas. You are loved. You are cared for. You are never alone. Min shar il waswas il khanas. The whispers are losing their power. They are fading. They are being replaced by silence, by peace, by the gentle voice of truth. Alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas. Your chest is becoming clear. The anxiety is lifting. The weight is dissolving. Min al-jinnati wan-nas. protected from all sides, guarded from all threats, safe in the shelter of divine words. Can you feel it? The shift in the atmosphere, the way the room feels different. This is not imagination. This is the tangible effect of Quranic recitation. The scholars tell us that angels cannot enter a place where there is music or idle speech, but they rush toward a place where the Quran is being recited. Your space right now is filled with angelic presence, and that presence brings with it tranquility, mercy, and protection. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ مَالِكِ النَّاسِ إِلَهِ النَّاسِ مِنْ شَرِّ الْوَسْوَاسِ الْخَنَّاسِ الَّذِي يُوَسْوِسُ فِي صُدُورِ النَّاسِ مِنَ الْجِنَّةِ وَالنَّاسِ. Let the last echoes of the recitation fade naturally. Don't rush to the next thing. Don't immediately start thinking about what comes next. Just be here, in this moment, wrapped in the mercy of these words. The Prophet, peace be upon him, understood the power of repetition. He would repeat his du'as 3 times, not because Allah didn't hear him the first time, but because the human heart needs time to absorb mercy. The first time we hear something, it touches the surface. The second time, it goes a little deeper. The third time, it begins to reach the core. You have now heard Surah An-Nas 6 times in this session, 3 times in the first cycle, 3 times in this second cycle. Each time, the words have gone deeper. Each time, the protection has become stronger. Each time, your heart has opened more fully to what Allah wishes to give you. But we are not finished yet. There is one more cycle remaining, the deepest one, the one that will carry you gently across the threshold from wakefulness into sleep. In that final cycle, we will slow down even more. We will let the pauses extend. We will create space for your mind to finally let go of the day and surrender to the night. For now, rest in what you have received. Feel the shield that has been built around you. Notice how your body feels heavier, more relaxed, how your thoughts have slowed down, how the urgency that drove you through the day has dissolved into this present moment of peace. You are safe. You are protected. You are wrapped in words that came from beyond the 7 heavens, delivered by the most noble angel, spoken by the most beloved prophet, preserved for you across 14 centuries, and now surrounding you like a warm, gentle embrace from Allah Himself. Breathe that in. Know that it is true. And prepare for the final cycle, where we will complete this journey and deliver you, by Allah's mercy, into the deep, peaceful, protected sleep that your soul has been craving. We have reached the final cycle, dear soul. You have traveled with me through history, through meaning, through the layered beauty of these 6 verses. You have heard them recited multiple times, each repetition adding another layer of protection, another degree of peace. Now, in this final cycle, we will let the words carry you gently across the threshold from waking to sleeping. This is the most delicate part of the journey. Your conscious mind is beginning to loosen its grip. Your thoughts are becoming softer, less defined. Your body is heavy, sinking deeper into rest. This is exactly where you should be. This is the natural progression towards sleep, and it is blessed, it is safe, and it is protected by the words you have been hearing. The Prophet, peace be upon him, taught us that sleep is a trust. We entrust our souls to Allah when we close our eyes, asking Him to return them to us in the morning. There is a beautiful dua he would recite, Bismika Allahumma amutu wa ahya. In your name, O Allah, I die and I live. Sleep is a little death, and waking is a little resurrection. Both are in Allah's hands. But before you cross into that sleep, we sanctify this moment with one final recitation of Surah An-Nas. This time, I will barely speak between the verses. This time, the pauses will be longer. This time, you don't need to think about the meanings. They have already entered your heart. You just need to let the sounds wash over you, let the rhythm lull you, let the peace complete its work. If you find your eyes closing during this cycle, let them close. If you find yourself drifting, let yourself drift. The purpose of this final cycle is not to keep you awake. The purpose is to escort you gently into sleep, with protection, with peace, with the knowledge that Allah is watching over you through the night. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Qul a'udhu bi Rabbi An-Nas, Malik An-Nas, Ilah An-Nas, min sharr il-waswas il-khannas, alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudur An-Nas, min al-jinnati wan-nas. Qul a'udhu bi Rabbi An-Nas, Malik An-Nas, Ilah An-Nas, min sharr il-waswas il-khannas, alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudur An-Nas, min al-jinnati wan-nas. Qul a'udhu bi Rabbi An-Nas, Malik An-Nas, Ilah An-Nas, min sharr il-waswas il-khannas, alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudur An-Nas, min al-jinnati wan-nas. The recitation is complete. 3 cycles, each one taking you deeper into peace. 9 full recitations of Surah An-Nas surrounding you like layers of protective light. You are now wrapped in a fortress of divine words, and no harm can reach you here. The scholars tell us that the Prophet would blow lightly into his hands after reciting these surahs and then wipe his hands over his body. If you have the energy to do this now, cup your hands in front of your mouth, recite these verses yourself, even if only in your mind. Blow gently into your hands, and then pass your hands over your head, your face, and as much of your body as you can reach. This is a beautiful sunnah, a prophetic practice that seals the protection. But if you are already too deep in relaxation to move, that is perfectly fine. The protection has been established through your listening with presence and intention. Allah knows your heart. He knows you came here seeking refuge, and He has given it to you. As you lie here now, in these final moments before sleep takes you, reflect on what you have received tonight. You have learned the history of these verses, how they were revealed to heal the Prophet from magic. You have understood the 3 beautiful names of Allah that form the foundation of this refuge. You have explored the nature of the whisperer and his tactics. You have identified the sources of harm, both jinn and human. And you have heard the verses recited again and again, each time adding to the wall of protection around your heart. This is not just information you have collected. This is medicine you have taken. This is protection you have activated. This is peace you have received. The effect of tonight will extend beyond just tonight. These words are now in your heart. These meanings are now in your understanding. This protection is now part of your spiritual armor. Tomorrow, when you wake, by Allah's mercy, you may find that you slept more deeply than you have in a long time. You may find that your dreams were peaceful, or that you didn't dream at all. Just experience the blessed darkness of deep rest. You may find that you wake feeling lighter, clearer, more centered. This is not coincidence. This is the effect of seeking refuge in Allah before sleep. And tomorrow night, and every night after, you now have this tool. You now know these verses. You now understand their meaning. You can return to this practice, making it part of your nightly routine, just as the Prophet did. You can teach it to your children, your spouse, your loved ones. You can be a means of spreading this protection to others, and in doing so, you earn reward while you sleep. The angels are still here, surrounding this space, making dua for you. They will remain through the night, guarding you, because you have filled this space with Quran. What a beautiful thought to carry into sleep, that you are not alone, that angelic beings are watching over you, that Allah has appointed guardians for you, because you sought His refuge. Let yourself go now. Let the last threads of wakefulness dissolve. Let your body become heavy, your breathing deep and slow, your mind quiet. You have done what you needed to do. You have sought refuge in the Lord of mankind, the King of mankind, the God of mankind. You have asked for protection from the whisperer who withdraws, from the whispers in your chest, from the evil that comes from jinn and mankind. And your Lord has heard you. He always hears those who call upon Him. He never turns away those who seek His refuge. He is with you now, watching over you, protecting you, guiding you gently into sleep. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Glory is to you, O Allah, and praise. I bear witness that there is no God but you. I seek your forgiveness and turn to you in repentance. Sleep now, dear soul. Sleep in peace. Sleep in protection. Sleep in the shelter of divine words. And may Allah grant you rest that heals, dreams that inspire, and awakening that renews. Allahum ajirni minan nar. O Allah, protect me from the fire. As you rest in these final moments of wakefulness, let us reflect together on why this particular surah has such profound power to bring peace and facilitate sleep. This is not just tradition or ritual. There are deep psychological, spiritual, and even physiological reasons why Surah An-Nas creates the perfect conditions for rest. Modern sleep science tells us that the biggest obstacle to falling asleep is an active, worried mind. When the mind is cycling through anxious thoughts, rehearsing tomorrow's challenges, replaying today's mistakes, or imagining future threats, the body cannot relax enough to enter sleep. The nervous system remains in a state of alertness, producing stress hormones that keep us wired and wakeful. But here is what's remarkable. Surah An-Nas addresses exactly this problem, but from a spiritual perspective that goes deeper than modern psychology. It doesn't just offer techniques to calm the mind, it goes to the source of the mental agitation. It addresses the whisperer, the one who is feeding those anxious thoughts in the first place. Think about your typical pre-sleep worries. Did I do enough today? What will happen tomorrow? What if that person is angry with me? What if I fail? What if something bad happens? These thoughts all have one thing in common. They are whispers. They are suggestions being fed into your mind. And according to Surah An-Nas, these whispers have a source. The waswas, the persistent whisperer who targets the chests of mankind. When you recite Surah An-Nas before sleep, you are not just trying to replace negative thoughts with positive ones. You are not just trying to distract yourself. You are actually addressing the source of the thoughts. You are making the whisperer retreat by invoking the three names of Allah, Rab, Malik, Ilah. And when the whisperer retreats, the thoughts stop. Not because you forced them to stop, but because their source has been cut off. This is infinitely more effective than merely trying to quiet your mind through willpower. You're not fighting your thoughts. You're removing the one who is generating them. It's like unplugging a speaker rather than trying to ignore the noise it's making. The scholars throughout history have specifically mentioned that Surah An-Nas and its companion Surah Al-Falaq are particularly powerful for nighttime protection. Imam Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, in his book on prophetic medicine, explains that the night is a time when shaitan is most active, when our guards are down, when we are most vulnerable. This is why these surahs should be our constant companions before sleep. But the benefits go even deeper. Consider the content of the surah itself. It is entirely about seeking refuge, about acknowledging need, about surrendering to Allah's protection. This act of surrender is exactly what the mind needs to do in order to sleep. Sleep itself is an act of surrender. You cannot force sleep. You cannot achieve sleep through effort. You can only allow sleep by letting go of control, by trusting that you'll be safe while unconscious, by surrendering to the natural process. When you recite Kul a'udhu birab in-nas, I seek refuge in the Lord of mankind, you are practicing surrender. You are saying, I am not in control, and that's okay, because the one who is in control is trustworthy. This is the exact mental shift needed for sleep. The insomniac's problem is often an inability to let go of control, to trust that they'll be okay without their constant vigilance. Surah An-Nas trains you in the art of protective surrender. There is also something deeply comforting about the repetition of An-Nas, mankind, 3 times in the first 3 verses. It reminds you that you are not alone in your struggles. Every human being needs the same Lord, the same King, the same God. Your anxiety is not unique. Your fears are not strange. You are part of humanity, and all of humanity needs divine refuge. This universality is oddly comforting. You are not broken or defective for needing help. You are simply human, and being human means needing Allah. The scholars have also noted specific benefits that have been experienced by those who regularly recite Surah An-Nas before sleep. Ibn Baz, the former Grand Mufti of Saudi Arabia, used to counsel people struggling with nightmares or disturbing dreams to recite the Mu'awwidhatayn before sleep. He explained that these surahs create a barrier that evil cannot penetrate, and this barrier extends into the realm of dreams. Think about what happens when you sleep without protection. Your conscious mind, which normally filters and resists negative suggestions, is no longer operating. You are in a state of heightened suggestibility. This is why nightmares can feel so real, why they can affect us so deeply, why we can wake from them with our hearts racing and our minds disturbed. But when you seal your sleep with Surah An-Nas, you're not entering that vulnerable state unprotected. Many people report that after making a habit of reciting these surahs before sleep, their dreams become more peaceful. Some report fewer nightmares. Others report better quality sleep, waking less frequently through the night. This is not superstition. This is the effect of invoking Allah's protection over the vulnerable state of sleep. There is also a physiological component that modern science is beginning to understand. When we engage in rhythmic, repetitive recitation, especially in a language with the melodic qualities of Arabic, our nervous system begins to calm. The vagus nerve, which governs our rest and digest parasympathetic response, is activated. Heart rate slows, blood pressure decreases, muscle tension releases. These are all precursors to sleep. So even if someone doesn't believe in the spiritual dimension, even if they approach these verses as merely sounds and rhythms, they would still experience some benefit from the recitation. But how much more powerful it is when you know what you're reciting, when you understand the meanings, when you believe in the protection being activated. Then you're receiving both the physiological benefit and the spiritual benefit, working in harmony. The timing of this surah in the Quran is also worth reflecting on. It is the very last surah, the final words of the final revelation. Allah could have ended the Quran with many different messages, with warnings, with promises of paradise, with commands to righteousness. Instead, He chose to end with protection, with refuge, with a prayer that addresses the deepest fears of the human heart. This tells us something profound about Allah's mercy and His understanding of what we need most. When you close the Mus'haf, when you complete the Quran, the last words ringing in your ears are Min al-Jinnati wan-Nas, from the jinn and mankind. The last message of Allah's final revelation is, I know you face threats. I know you are vulnerable. I know the whispers come from both seen and unseen sources. But I am teaching you how to seek refuge in me, and when you do, nothing can harm you. What a beautiful ending. What a merciful final gift. This is why making Surah An-Nas part of your nightly routine is not just about following a prophetic practice, though that alone would be reason enough. It's about equipping yourself with the most powerful tool for peaceful sleep that has ever been revealed. It's about ending each day by consciously choosing to place yourself under Allah's protection. It's about training your heart to seek refuge when it feels vulnerable, rather than spiraling into anxiety. And here is something beautiful. The more you do this, the easier it becomes. The first time you recite this surah before sleep, you might not notice dramatic effects. But do it the second night, and the third, and the 10th. Gradually, your heart begins to associate these words with safety, with rest, with letting go. The mere act of beginning the recitation starts to trigger the relaxation response. Your body learns, these words mean it's time to sleep. These words mean I can stop being vigilant now. These words mean I'm protected. This is classical conditioning in the best possible way. You're training yourself to feel safe and relaxed when you hear or recite these verses. Over time, Surah An-Nas becomes like a key that unlocks the door to peaceful sleep. The key was always there, given by Allah through His Prophet, but you have to use it consistently for it to work most effectively. So, as you drift off now, know that you're not just falling asleep randomly. You are falling asleep in a very particular way, wrapped in protection, surrendered to the Lord of mankind, sealed by the words of the final revelation, surrounded by angels, guarded through the night. This is how the believers sleep. This is how the Prophet slept. And this is how you can sleep every night for the rest of your life, if you hold on to this practice, if you return to these words, if you keep seeking refuge in the one who never sleeps, who never tires, who is always watching over you with perfect care. As you rest here in these blessed moments between wakefulness and sleep, let us explore more deeply the prophetic guidance that surrounds the practice of sleep. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, did not leave any aspect of life without guidance, and sleep, which occupies nearly a third of our lives, was given special attention in his teachings. The Prophet understood that sleep is not merely a biological necessity. It is a spiritual state, a time when the soul partly departs from the body, a rehearsal for death itself, and therefore a time requiring special care, special protection, and special awareness of Allah. His bedtime routine was comprehensive, addressing not just the spiritual dimensions, but also the physical and psychological aspects of preparing for sleep. Let us walk through the complete prophetic routine for sleep, understanding that each element has wisdom, each practice has purpose, and together they create the perfect conditions for rest that is physically restorative, spiritually protected, and psychologically peaceful. The physical preparations. The Prophet would begin his sleep preparation with physical cleanliness. He emphasized the importance of performing wudu, ablution, before sleep, even if one was not going to pray. Wudu is not just about physical cleanliness, it is a spiritual reset. When you wash your face, hands, arms, head, and feet with the intention of purification, you are symbolically washing away the day, cleansing yourself of the spiritual grime that accumulates through daily life. In one hadith, the Prophet said, "Whoever goes to bed in a state of purity, an angel stays with him in his bed, and every time he turns over during the night, the angel says, 'O Allah, forgive your servant, for he went to bed in a state of purity.'" Imagine that, an angel making dua for you throughout the night, simply because you took the time to make wudu before sleep. What an easy way to earn continuous reward while you're unconscious. The Prophet also taught specific etiquettes about sleeping position. He would lie on his right side, placing his right hand under his right cheek. This position has both spiritual significance and modern medical validation. Spiritually, it demonstrates humility and vulnerability before Allah. Medically, sleeping on the right side is beneficial for digestion and heart function. He would never sleep on his stomach, saying, "That is a way of lying that Allah dislikes." And he discouraged sleeping on the back with one leg crossed over the other. These teachings show that even the position of our bodies during sleep matters. Everything is an opportunity to align ourselves with divine wisdom. The spiritual preparations. After the physical preparations came the spiritual ones, and this is where Surah An-Nas plays its central role. The Prophet had a comprehensive set of recitations and supplications for bedtime, each one addressing a different dimension of protection and blessing. First, he would recite Ayat al-Kursi, the throne verse, Quran 2:255. This mighty verse declares Allah's absolute sovereignty and eternal guardianship. The Prophet said that whoever recites it before sleep will have a guardian from Allah with them until morning, and Shaitan will not approach them until they wake up. The companion who narrated this hadith, Abu Huraira, tested it himself and confirmed its truth. Then he would recite the last two verses of Surah Al-Baqarah, Quran 2:285 to 286. These verses, which affirm the believer's faith and ask Allah not to burden souls beyond their capacity, carry a special promise. The Prophet said, "Whoever recites the last two verses of Surah Al-Baqarah at night, they will suffice him." The scholars explain that suffice him means they will protect him from all harm during that night. After these, he would recite the three kuls, Surah Al-Ikhlas, Surah Al-Falaq, and Surah An-Nas, 3 times each, as we've discussed. He would recite them into his cupped hands, blow lightly, and then wipe his hands over his body as far as he could reach, starting with his head and face. Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, who witnessed this practice night after night, said that he would do this every single night without exception. Why 3 times? The scholars explain that 3 is a number of completeness in Islamic practice. Many du'as and dhikr are done 3 times. It's not that once isn't enough. Allah hears the first time, but repetition allows the heart to be fully present, fully engaged, fully immersed in the act of worship. By the 3rd time, you're not just saying the words, you're embodying them. The du'as of protection. Beyond the Quranic recitations, the Prophet taught specific du'as to be said before sleep. Each one addresses a particular anxiety or need that humans naturally feel when entering the vulnerable state of sleep. He would say, Bismika Allahumma amutu wa ahya. In your name, O Allah, I die and I live. This dua acknowledges the reality of sleep as a minor death. Every night, when we close our eyes, we don't know if we'll wake up. Every morning, when we open our eyes, it's like a resurrection. By saying this dua, you're surrendering your soul to Allah, trusting Him with your very existence. He would also say, O Allah, protect me from your punishment on the day you resurrect your servants. This dua connects sleep to the ultimate sleep, death, and the ultimate awakening, resurrection. It reminds us that every sleep is practice for that final sleep, and we should face it with awareness of the hereafter. Another beautiful dua. Allahumma aslamtu nafsi ilayk, wa wajjahtu wajhi ilayk, wa fawwadtu amri ilayk, wa alja'tu zahri ilayk, raghbatan wa rahbatan ilayk, la malja'a wa la manja minka illa ilayk. Amantu bi kitabika alladhi anzalt, wa bi nabiyyika alladhi arsalt. O Allah, I submit my soul to you. I turn my face to you. I entrust my affair to you. I seek your protection in hope and fear of you. There is no refuge nor escape from you except to you. I believe in your book, which you revealed, and in your Prophet, whom you sent. This comprehensive dua covers everything: submission, trust, seeking refuge, affirmation of faith. It's like a complete spiritual audit before sleep, checking that your heart is aligned with Allah in belief, in trust, in seeking Him alone for protection. The Prophet also taught a dua specifically for nightmares and disturbing dreams. A'udhu bi kalimatillahi at-tammati min ghadabihi wa iqabihi wa sharri ibadihi wa min hamazati ash-shayatini wa an yahdurun. I seek refuge in the perfect words of Allah from His anger and punishment, from the evil of His servants, from the whispers of the devils, and from their presence around me. Notice how this dua specifically mentions Hamazati ash-shayatin, the whispers of the devils. This connects directly to Surah An-Nas, which seeks refuge from the waswas. The Prophet gave us multiple tools, all pointing to the same reality. Whispers are the primary weapon of our spiritual enemies, and seeking refuge in Allah is our primary defense. The practice of dhikr. Beyond specific duas, the Prophet encouraged gentle dhikr, remembrance of Allah, while lying in bed waiting for sleep. He taught that one should say, Subhanallah, glory to Allah, 33 times, Alhamdulillah, praise to Allah, 33 times, and Allahu Akbar, Allah is the greatest, 34 times after getting into bed. This totals 100, and he said this practice is better for a person than a servant. Why is this particular dhikr so beneficial before sleep? Because it trains the mind away from worldly concerns and toward Allah. Instead of your last thoughts before sleep being worries, regrets, or plans, your last thoughts are glorifying Allah, praising Allah, and declaring His greatness. These become the thoughts that carry over into your sleep, into your dreams, into your subconscious. You're literally programming your mind with dhikr. Imagine if your last waking thought every night was Allahu Akbar. Allah is greater, greater than your problems, greater than your fears, greater than any threat. What a powerful thought to carry into sleep. The prophetic bedtime routine, complete picture. The following brings together various authentic practices of the Prophet ﷺ, creating a comprehensive routine for protection and remembrance. Make wudu, ablution, with intention of spiritual purification. Shake out your bedding 3 times. The Prophet taught this to remove any insects or harmful things. Lie on your right side with your right hand under your right cheek. Recite Ayat al-Kursi. Recite the last 2 verses of Surah Al-Baqarah. Recite Surah Al-Ikhlas, Al-Falaq, and An-Nas into cupped hands, blow, and wipe over body 3 times. Say the bedtime duas mentioned above. Do the tasbih. 33, Subhanallah. 33, Alhamdulillah. 34, Allahu Akbar. Make any personal duas for yourself, your family, the believers. Close your eyes with conscious awareness that you're entrusting your soul to Allah. This might seem like a lot, but in practice, the entire routine takes only about 10 to 15 minutes. And consider what you're getting in return: comprehensive spiritual protection, angelic companionship throughout the night, continuous reward while sleeping, peace of mind, and preparation for quality sleep. Compare this to what most people do before sleep in our modern age. Scroll through social media, watch news or entertainment, set alarms, and then wonder why they can't fall asleep or why their sleep is restless. They're filling their minds with noise, anxiety, and stimulation right before trying to rest. The prophetic method is the exact opposite. It systematically removes anxiety, introduces peace, invokes protection, and fills the mind with remembrance of Allah. making it your own. Now, I understand that not everyone will be able to do this complete routine every night, especially when starting out. Life is busy, circumstances vary, and Allah does not burden a soul beyond its capacity. The beautiful thing about prophetic practices is that you can start with what you can manage and gradually build. If you can only do one thing from this routine tonight, make it Surah An-Nas. If you can do 2 things, add Ayat al-Kursi. If you can do 3, add the bedtime dua. Build gradually and don't overwhelm yourself. The goal is consistency over perfection. Better to do 1 or 2 practices every night than to do the full routine once and then give up because it feels too difficult. And remember, the Prophet did these practices not out of fear, but out of love and wisdom. He wasn't paranoid about the night. He was prepared. He wasn't anxious about sleep. He was conscious. He knew that entering sleep with awareness, with protection, with remembrance of Allah would result in rest that was truly restorative, body, mind, and soul. As you incorporate these practices into your life, you'll notice changes. You'll notice that your relationship with sleep itself changes. Instead of sleep being something you chase anxiously or fall into exhaustedly, it becomes something you approach with consciousness and gratitude. Instead of waking up groggy and unprepared, you wake up refreshed and grateful because you went to sleep properly. This is the gift of the prophetic way. It transforms ordinary acts into worship, daily routines into opportunities for connection with Allah, and necessary functions like sleep into chances to earn reward and receive protection. So tonight, as you finally surrender to sleep, know that you are following in the footsteps of the Prophet. You are doing what he did, saying what he said, seeking what he sought. And if you follow his example in sleep, Allah will grant you what he granted the Prophet: peace, protection, and the company of angels through the night. We have reached the end of our journey together, dear soul. We began nearly 2 hours ago with an invitation to rest, to learn, to receive. We traveled through the history of Surah An-Nas, understanding how it was revealed to heal the Prophet from magic. We explored the 3 magnificent names of Allah: Rab, Malik, Ilah, each one a pillar of protection. We uncovered the linguistic beauty of waswas and khanas, understanding our enemy's tactics. We heard the surah recited 9 times in 3 cycles, each one taking us deeper into peace. We reflected on why this surah is so perfect for sleep, and we learned the complete prophetic bedtime routine. Now, in these final moments, I want to leave you with a sense of completion, of peace, of gratitude for what you've received, and of confidence that you can carry this practice forward into every night of your life. First, let us make a closing dua together. Even if you're too relaxed to speak, listen to these words and let your heart say, Ameen. Allahumma innaka afuwun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni. O Allah, you are the pardoner, you love to pardon, so pardon me. This is one of the most beloved duas taught by the Prophet to Aisha for the night of Laylatul Qadr. But it's appropriate for every night because every night we need forgiveness. Every night we carry mistakes from the day. Every night we need Allah's mercy to wash away what we've done wrong. Allahumma rahmataka arju fala takilni ila nafsi tarfata ayn wa aslih lishani kullahu la ilaha illa ant. O Allah, I hope for your mercy, so do not leave me to myself even for the blink of an eye, and rectify all my affairs for me. There is no deity except you. This dua reminds us that we cannot manage even a moment of our existence without Allah. The blink of an eye, that's how quickly we need Him, not just for major decisions or crises, but for every breath, every heartbeat, every moment. اللهم إني أعوذ بك من الهم والحزان وأعوذ بك من العجز والكسال وأعوذ بك من الجبن والبخل وأعوذ بك من غلبة الدين وقهر الرجال. O Allah, I seek refuge in you from worry and grief, from incapacity and laziness, from cowardice and miserliness, from being overcome by debt and being overpowered by people. Notice how comprehensive this dua is. It covers emotional struggles, worry, grief, physical struggles, incapacity, laziness, character weaknesses, cowardice, miserliness, and social pressures, debt, being overpowered. These are the things that keep us up at night. These are the whispers that attack us, and we're asking Allah to protect us from all of it. Allahumma alimni ma yanfa'uni, wanfani bima allamtani, wazidni ilma. O Allah, teach me what will benefit me. Benefit me with what you have taught me, and increase me in knowledge. This dua is especially appropriate after a session of learning like tonight. You've learned about Surah An-Nas, about the prophetic bedtime routine, about seeking refuge. Now you're asking Allah to make that knowledge beneficial, to help you implement it, and to continue increasing you in understanding. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban nar. Our Lord, give us good in this world and good in the hereafter, and protect us from the punishment of the fire. This is one of the most frequently repeated du'as in the Quran, and for good reason. It's comprehensive, asking for both worldly and eternal good, and protection from the ultimate harm. It's simple enough to remember even in the drowsy state before sleep, yet complete enough to cover all your needs. Allahumma ajirni minan nar. O Allah, protect me from the fire. The Prophet taught that whoever says this 3 times in the morning and 3 times in the evening, the fire will say on the Day of Judgment, O Allah, protect him from me. What an easy practice with such an enormous reward. Say it now as you drift towards sleep. Subhana Allah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Glory to Allah and praise to Allah, and there is no deity except Allah, and Allah is the greatest, and there is no power and no strength except with Allah. These comprehensive words of dhikr are the best thing to fill your heart with as you fall asleep. Let them be the last conscious thoughts you have, glorifying Allah, praising Him, declaring His oneness and greatness, acknowledging your complete dependence on Him. Your next steps. Tomorrow morning when you wake, by Allah's mercy and permission, you may remember this time you spent tonight. You may remember the recitations, the meanings, the protection you received. Take a moment to thank Allah for granting you another day, another chance to worship Him, another opportunity to seek His refuge. Then, tomorrow night, return to this practice. You don't need to listen to this full recording every night, though you can if it helps you. But you do need to recite Surah An-Nas. Make it non-negotiable. Make it as essential as brushing your teeth before sleep. Because just as you protect your teeth, you must protect your soul. Just as you lock your door, you must seal your heart. Start with just the 3 Quls, Surah Al-Ikhlas, Al-Falaq, and An-Nas. Even if you can't do the full prophetic routine, do these 3. Cup your hands, recite them, blow, wipe over your body. 3 times. Every night. The Prophet never abandoned this practice, and neither should we. Teach this to your children. When you tuck them into bed, recite these surahs over them. Place your hand on their foreheads and ask Allah to protect them through the night. You'll be giving them a gift more valuable than any toy or treat, the gift of divine protection and the foundation of a nightly practice that can serve them for their entire lives. Teach this to your spouse. Make it a shared practice before sleep, both of you reciting, both of you seeking refuge, both of you surrendering to Allah's care together. This shared vulnerability and spiritual intimacy can strengthen your relationship in ways that few other practices can. Share this knowledge with those you love. If you found benefit in these words tonight, if you felt peace, if you learned something that helped you, then that benefit can multiply infinitely when you share it. Every person you teach, every heart that finds peace through these verses becomes part of your ongoing reward. The Prophet said, "Whoever guides someone to good will have a reward like the one who did it." You can earn the reward of everyone's peaceful sleep simply by teaching them Surah An-Nas. A promise. Let me end with a promise from Allah. In Surah Ar-Ra'd 13:28, Allah says, "Alladhina amanu wa tatma'innu qulubuhum bidhikrillah. Ala bidhikrillahi tatma'innul qulub." Those who believe and whose hearts find peace in the remembrance of Allah. Verily, in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find peace. This is not a possibility. This is not a hope. This is a statement of fact. Hearts find peace in the remembrance of Allah. Not might find peace, not could find peace. Find peace. It is certain. It is guaranteed. It is Allah's promise. When you recite Surah An-Nas, you are remembering Allah. You are calling upon His names. You are acknowledging His lordship, His kingship, His divinity. You are seeking His refuge. This is dhikr in its purest form. And Allah has promised that hearts find peace in dhikr. So if you came here tonight with an anxious heart, with a troubled mind, with exhaustion that felt overwhelming, know that you have been given the cure. You have been given the remembrance that brings peace. You have been given the refuge that brings safety. You have been given the words that bring rest. Use them. Return to them. Make them your constant companion. Let Surah An-Nas be the last thing you hear before sleep and the first thing you recite when you wake. Let it be the medicine you take when anxiety attacks and the shield you raise when whispers come. Let it be your fortress, your sanctuary, your home. Final words. And now, dear soul, I release you to sleep. You have received what you came for. You have been taught what you needed to learn. You have been given protection that will last beyond this night. Allah has heard your seeking refuge. He has seen your effort to come here, to listen, to learn, and He never turns away those who turn to Him. Sleep now in peace. Sleep in the protection of Rabb al-Nas, Malik al-Nas, Ilah al-Nas. Sleep knowing that the whisperer has been made to retreat. Sleep knowing that angels surround you. Sleep knowing that you have done what the Prophet used to do. Sleep knowing that you are loved by Allah, cared for by Allah, and safe in His refuge. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Glory and praise to you, O Allah. I bear witness that there is no deity except you. I seek your forgiveness and turn to you in repentance. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. And our final call is that all praise belongs to Allah, Lord of all the worlds. May Allah grant you rest that heals. May He grant you sleep that restores. May He protect you through the night and wake you to a blessed morning. May He make Surah An-Nas easy on your tongue, beloved in your heart, and constant in your practice. Ameen. 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 Sleep well, beloved soul. We will meet again tomorrow night, if Allah wills. Until then, you are in Allah's care. Allahumma Ameen.